Hey everybody, this is Ryan Mallory with SharePointer, the best swing trading website on the web, and I'm going to talk about the FANG stocks today and what do we have at hand, because there's been a lot of news around them and their earnings, namely with Facebook, and then of course Amazon's yesterday, and then kind of long forgotten was Google and Netflix. So where do they all stand post earnings? We're going to tackle that. We'll probably look at a few other charts with the market as a whole and Apple, because they report on Tuesday too. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the FANG stocks here. Facebook, after Amazon reported and the market kind of went up last night, the futures stayed strong. It was assumed that it was probably going to be a good day for the markets to rally. Not so. I mean, we gapped up higher, obviously, but we've been fading all day long. And in tech, I mean, if you look at tech right now, it's down 2.2%. That's a heavy red day. I mean, that's big time. And if you look at the NASDAQ, if you look at the NASDAQ, you have 133 points to the downside, another 1.7%. So a lot of selling, and you can see here it's been perpetual all day long. So Facebook thought there was a good chance it would probably break over that 180 or the highs from yesterday, and it hasn't. In fact, all it's doing is breaking the lows from yesterday and creating a lot of heartache for the long. So as a trader, I wouldn't touch Facebook yet. Let this thing settle in. Let's see where tech wants to go here. Let's see if there's a full-on legitimate sell-off that we're going to see here in the days ahead. But this is not your favorite candle to see on Facebook if you're looking to buy the dip. So stay away from it. There's some support here at 168 that it might find. If you look going all the way back, just starting right there in October of last year, you can just draw a line, and there is some support. So if you're looking to buy the dip, I would probably say right about there is where you want to target, just below 170 at about 168, 169. But wait for it to settle in on that support level and then actually bounce. Don't try to get ahead of it and assume that it's going to bounce, because that's a no-go also. Let's look at Amazon, and this is the one that reported last night. You can see here that if I pull up the 5-minute chart, it's just been selling off perpetually all day long. No kind of bounce, nothing. And it closed the gap, filled the gap pretty much perfectly. And now it's trying to settle in and maybe even give us a end of day rally here. It's a little unknown at this point. I'm not trusting anything in the market right now, because this has been kind of a bonanza of a day with price action and how weak the overall tech sector has been in light of some really good earnings reports from Amazon. Even though they did miss on the revenue side, their EPS was through the roof. So again, going forward on Amazon, I don't really see a trade here. I mean, you can buy the dip. I don't know what you're really buying. I mean, it's not really dipped, it's just giving up gains. So there's nothing there either. There's some support at 1800. It hasn't quite tested that yet. It got pretty close at around 1805, 1806. But there, I really don't see nothing. I just see more consolidation. These stocks, as they're getting closer to $1 trillion, like Amazon, like Apple, and for a long time with Google. Google's been a little bit more bullish of late. But there's just it's a little bit harder to play them. You have a good 7-8 day run here out of Amazon earlier this month, but then as it gets closer and closer and the talk hypes up about 1 trillion, they just kind of stall out a little bit here. So I don't see anything worth taking. Definitely wouldn't short Amazon. Then you have Netflix. This is a frustrating one because people were quite surprised by the hard sell-off. Now you have post-earnings. You have a opportunity off of this rising trend line. So far it's holding it, but let it settle. I actually got stopped out of this trade just today because I was increasing it, trying to protect myself. But once it broke below the lows from 723, I was knocked out. But there's a chance that I could get back into it in the days ahead if it shows that it wants to hold this trend line for an ultimate bounce that might take it back up to the 395-ish level to fill that gap there. So this is probably one of the better trade setups out there. But now, with this big bearish engulfing candle pattern, I'd stay away from it until, one, the market improves, and then two, the Netflix shows that it's going to actually hold it and not just test it momentarily, because a lot of times it'll test it at first and then it'll just crush the trend line and it will go right below it. So you want to make sure that it tests it and then holds this rising trend line here. But it's a pretty solid trend line, one of the better ones out there. But it's just a matter of whether it can hold it or not. And right now, that's up in the air, especially with the weakness that we're seeing in the tech sector and FANG stocks in general. Then you got Google, the last of the FANG stocks. Nasty bearish engulfing candle pattern, down 2.5%. So it's not like it's just Netflix and Facebook that are facing a lot of headwinds. It's Google too, and even though it had a great earnings report, it's given back a good chunk of that stuff here from the last 3 days. About to engulf the entire price action from the last 3 days, which would be really impressive if that happens. Finding a little bit of support here in the 1244 area. I'd still be a little bit nervous about that gap fill possibly playing out in the days ahead. So I don't see a trade set up there either. I would, if I'm long Google, which I'm not, but if I am, I would be raising my stop losses up to the lows of July 24th, put the stop below there, and see where it goes from there. Let's look at Apple, and we'll wrap this up here after I look at Apple. They're reporting earnings on Tuesday. A lot of people are going to be nervous now because of what they saw with Facebook and Netflix. Even though they're not really related, people tend to harbor past feelings towards future earnings reports. But this is pulling back and it's testing this 191 level. It's not getting hammered like some of the other tech stocks out there today, but it takes a lot to get Apple, down in the dumps. But it's holding support 191. That's key for it going forward. I wouldn't touch this thing ahead of an earnings report. Q2 doesn't always tend to be its best earnings either. They tend to have weaker sales during that time, but you can see there is a trend line that it is holding, but wait till after earnings to decide whether or not you want to get long on that particular stock. Let earnings play out. And why do I not play earnings? Let's just look at a few of them of late. Look at this one. This is a healthcare stock, ABMD. I sold this thing 2 days before basically for a flat trade, but if I held through earnings, look what happens. Instead of getting out for a slight profit, I'm taking a massive loss. You look at Twitter this morning, down 19%. Okay, you can play these earnings reports and hope that they go up for you. Or you can say, oh, well, look at Chipotle. What about that stock? That stock just constantly does everything wrong. Well, you'd be wrong on that one too, because guess what? It's up 5% today. And then, of course, we just talked about it, but Facebook, their earnings down $155 billion worth of market cap just wiped out. So you don't play earnings, okay? It seems easy, it feels easy, but it's just gambling. You're not gambling with any kind of edge, you're just hoping. And that's not what you do in trading. That's not what you're going to do if you want to be successful. So don't do that. Trade with an edge and always use stop losses and protection on all your trades. All right, have a good one. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, as well as check out some of these other cool videos that I've done. And if you want to swing trade with me each and every day, you can do so by going to www.shareplanner.com/splashzone. Thanks and happy trading.